Yes, I remembered to unmute myself. Ha ha ha! Victory. Yo guys, what's up? Theo here, Coach Theo here, Uncommon Sense here for another live. You know, as we always do on Sundays, as all of you know. Not always all that many people watching live, but a few hundred that see it in total at least, so that's nice. What's up, LA Meth Witch? Good to see you. If I recall correctly, you're a beautiful black woman in a white male's body. Nice to see you. Do you have anything you're wondering about? You're doing well with your little 3 kilo weights or whatever you said you had at home there? Please let me know. Because I did do it right with a mute. Yes, yes. I actually have some questions I got from people before, but I'm always happy to get more from you in the chat. So yes, say hi, like the stream. I see a few of you already have. Thank you. Tell me what's up. Ask me something, and I'll just go into my little pre questions or whatever here. So someone asked me about my favorite meal. Thing is, I mean, I don't really think about food in that way. I will just be listing the things I eat usually. See the likes going up, but it still says no one is watching. I don't know. I don't know about these numbers. They're bugged, but good to see you. No, but the thing is, when I think about favorite meals, I think so little. I enjoy the things I eat, but I'm never thinking, oh, I like this so much. It tastes so good in my mouth. Because you don't, yeah, you know, when you follow a utilitarian diet mainly, you feed your body what it needs mainly. That's what you're enjoying. Like, wow, I'm fueling my body so nicely. And it tastes pretty good. You know, for instance, the way I eat eggs, cook the egg whites, keep the egg yolks raw, and then have some salt and honey in there. Just this on its own is just amazingly tasty, but it's so nutritious too. Good protein, bunch of good micronutrients from the egg yolk mainly, some in the honey too. Some good healthy sugar, natural sugar from honey like that. And now when I'm bulking, I'm also throwing in a bunch of white rice in there, which I don't really think tastes as good, but it's to get the calories up, the carbs, of course. No, so I love that. But I also, honestly, just eating good meat, making beef patties with salt and pepper, having rice or potatoes, having a carrot, maybe a pickle, something like this on the side, glass of orange juice or just a fruit like a kiwi, something to munch on, I think it's great. And the protein yogurt thing that I do, you know, Greek yogurt, some good protein powder, some kefir, honey, berries in there. This as the base, you know, and then when I'm bulking, I'll throw more nuts and shit in for calories. But either way, this is just so tasty, you know. If I try to think of like, what do I think, like favorite meal, if I even try to think about just taste or like that, like normal people do. Oh, I love this food. I'm a foodie. Like the main thing I can think about is not even food, a meal like that. It's like blueberry pie. Just love it. Something my grandma used to feed me before she died. And this is, of course, before I became the person I am today. But yeah, blueberry pie with some vanilla sauce. And that's a thing for me as well. That if I'm going to eat something unhealthy, less than optimal like that, I just like it to be something baked from, you know, from scratch. Because then you know the ingredients. And maybe you shouldn't eat too much flour and too much sugar. You can eat too many calories from something like that. But if you just have a piece of blueberry pie made naturally, it's not the end of the world at all. Now, but in terms of food, like just a good piece of meat with some potatoes and some good butter, right vegetables sometimes with it. I don't need much more. Raclette, that is good. You know, well, it's also the name of a cheese, but it's like an, you know, when you have this thing in the middle. You know, I see more people. Please like and say hi in the chat and ask. But you know, when you have this thing in the middle of the table and you kind of fry your own little pieces of meat and the raclette cheese and like mushrooms and some vegetables, that's great. The raclette cheese and the meat is like, yeah. Thanks for the likes, guys. See more of you. Say hi. Ask me something. I still have a few more questions I had before the stream. I'll get to them. So we talked a bit about favorite meal there. How to put on muscle as a skinny guy, someone asked. So I recently did a video that is like called, it's of course like a little clickbait title. It's like how to bulk and put on muscle, staying lean. Like, because you know, when you're doing bulking the right way, you shouldn't get overly fat. You should add some fat. But it's really talking about how to bulk and what kind of person needs that. And of course, hey, Super Javi, what's up? Haven't seen you. What's up, bro? I haven't seen you in a while, but I know you. I remember some of your comments on some videos. Good to see you. If you have anything, any update, anything to tell me or anything you want to ask, please go ahead. See more of you guys now. Good. Like the stream, talk in the chat, say hi, ask some questions. No, but yeah, someone that definitely should bulk is, of course, a naturally skinny guy. And yet, how to put on muscle as a skinny guy, it's not different. You know, you're gonna have to go to the gym, smash your workouts, compound exercises, and progressively overload. But of course, if you have a hard time with it and you feel like I'm training hard, I'm pushing myself, of course, it's the eating part. And it's really a lot of people, if they bulk, they wouldn't even have to track calories all that much because to most people, it's easier to be like, oh, I'm supposed to eat more, so I put on weight, rather than I'm supposed to eat less, so I lose weight. But for someone that's skinny, it might actually be good to journal, track the calories. And if you see I've been eating like 2,500 calories or whatever it is every day, I'm not gaining weight, I need to push them up. Um, but yeah, um, adding more fat to the food would be one of the easiest ways to just raise calories. You know, cooking with more fat, choosing fattier pieces of meat, stuff like this, you know. And to be honest, for a skinny hard gainer, protein is not even what you have to focus on because, of course, you need protein to build muscle, but a calorie surplus is protein sparing. So, if not focusing too much or like holding back on the protein just a little bit is what allows you to eat more in general, uh, that would be a thing. It's more important for the hard gainer to manage to actually get into a calorie surplus with like a little lower protein than optimal, according to the science, you know, than pushing the protein but not really ending up in a calorie surplus. So now those would be some pieces of advice to a skinny guy trying to put on muscle. Yeah, okay, so Javi had something here. What is your exact height and what would you say your ideal weight would be? I'm 177 centimeters. I think it says 176 centimeters in my passport, but honestly, since I started training, I think I've just straightened out my posture enough so I'm actually a centimeter longer. So I guess I've said 5'9.5", but when I recently converted it, I think I'm closer to 5'10" than I would be to 5'9", but I'm just under 5'10". My ideal weight, like, you know, it depends, of course. I've seen before this bulk, I saw my body was very happy. Like, you know, you have like set points for your body weight. It's like the body is looking for homeostasis, for balance at a certain weight. But then if you push it enough in either direction, it will kind of give up at the point. So before I started this bulk, my body was moving like comfortably between 81 and 83 kilos. When I started bulking, at first I shot up to over 85 for a little bit, but then even when pushing the food, I went down, it was just 84, 85, 84, 85. And now I'm starting to see numbers above 85 finally, like 86 this morning actually. But like what my ideal weight would be, like for what, you know, like I would very much like it if I could reach like 90 kilos and not feel too fluffy. I would be happy with that. Like, yeah, I have some kind of intense size, but I still have some definition and I don't feel all fluffy. I just feel better when I'm not necessarily like super shredded, but quite lean, you know. So it's like your ideal weight. It depends. Right now, if I stop gaining muscle right now, I think my ideal weight is probably something like 83, 84. But if I keep putting on muscle, I will just gradually raise that a little bit. I think 90 kilos while feeling lean, that's really pushing it. Then I'm probably like as close to maxing out my muscle mass potential as I could be. But yeah, this with ideal weight, it depends on ideal according to what? To my personal goals, to some kind of health standard. And if you're lean and just gaining muscle naturally, I don't think you can get too big. So that's actually unhealthy for you. I think it's just that if you put on way too much fat, you're overweight. Or of course, if you're like a steroid using bodybuilder and you add like an unnatural 20 kilos or something. Um, Super Javi says, thank you, I'm 5'9", and that's why I asked to somewhat know what to aim for. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so, if you ask more than what my ideal is and just ask about my body composition and think what I possible of that, that makes more sense. And yeah, it is one of the best. Of course, we have genetics. It's a little genetic component, but of course, like someone around the same height as you is kind of good. You get good information there. If you look, what does he look like at this kind of body composition and that, it gives you some idea. Because this is the thing with all of this, we want to know, like, how far can I get? How much muscle can I put on? How big can I get? What should I expect? But we have to, at the same time, when we're looking for these things, we have to know that the only way to find out is on our own. Before I see Martin here has another question, that's a good one. Um, but like way earlier in my uncommon sense career, the training career, and I'm looking at these charts. I don't remember where I got it, but it was some kind of formula for what's supposed to be like the roof, what you can gain naturally. And I'm like, according to this chart, I'm almost maxed out after like 2 years. And I'm like, really? So blackpilling, like really? Can't I do more than this unless I go enhance, which I really don't want to, but I would really like to make more progress. And I'm like, hmm, and I just decided, you know what? These numbers, they say something, but well, yeah, I'm going to prove it to myself. I'm just going to gain more. And I've gained a bunch more since then, and I don't feel as I'm done. Of course, it goes slower now, but I don't feel like I'm done at all. Looking at my numbers on lifts, I can definitely get stronger. That should mean more muscle too. So what I'm saying is, it's good if you find someone with similar stats as you, similar height and that, it seems to have a similar like body phenotype or whatever. Absolutely, you can get a like estimate, but always know that you're gonna have to find out on your own what's possible. I see more people like, say hi in the chat, ask a question. Okay, Martin, good day to you. Good day, Martin. Do you have experience coaching smart, stubborn people? Yeah, yeah, definitely. I would say most people that I coach are quite smart because honestly, I'm quite smart. Uh, no, often when people pick a coach, they go, not only by their expertise in like training and that, they have seen some kind of personal similarity, connection. And so a lot of my clients have at least a similar way of thinking and that. And one thing, many are like very open to being like called out very harshly. A lot of people that you meet every day, they have all these dumb excuses for why they don't train and why they don't care about losing weight, blah, blah, blah. And they get so butthurt if you call them out. Like, yeah, you just made up. That's a shield. You clearly would want to lose weight and stuff. But clients I have, they're more open to being called out like that. That's kind of what they want me to do. But yeah, look, smart, stubborn people, it's mainly men, to be honest. And most of my followers here on YouTube and that are men. And most of my clients have been men. But if we compare to my following, like a disproportionate amount have been women still, even if it's a minority compared to the followers I have. It's a minority. And to be honest, I think women are easier to coach a lot of the time because when they put themselves in, like, yeah, I'm a student now, I'm listening to this guy, they are naturally more willing to just follow instructions like that. They're like, yeah, tell me what to do. I want to be told what to do, kind of thing. And many guys, they are stubborn with their own ideas. And they might be smart, but with many things, as with training and stuff, you need experience. Some things, when you haven't experienced enough, you think it's a Dunning-Kruger thing. You think you know more than you know. And so a bunch of guys. Yeah, Gavin De Silva shows up and says best coach, 100. This. Yeah, Gavin is a client I work with for a long time. Might again in the future. We have a little break now, but I appreciate that, Gavin. Gavin is one of the smart guys I'm talking about that I coached. Um, Also stubborn with some things, but generally very smart guy, open to input and that. No, but many guys they think they know something about themselves. No, no, I know how I work. I know this thing will be good. No, no, your idea there. I understand what you mean, but I know this about myself. So blah blah blah. And you sit there as the coach and like, look, I used to think like you. The thing I'm saying here, it's not a unique thing for that. It's kind of goes for everyone. But okay, I'm gonna let you stubbornly run against the wall with your dumb idea for a little bit, so we can do my good idea. And so that has happened quite a few times. That a guy, I have a routine. It's like, yeah, no, no, I see why that could be good, but because I'm like this, I think this will be better. I'm like, okay, fine. A few weeks later, we go to my routine. So yeah, and I'm curious, Martin, why do you ask that? Something, are you stubborn? You have some experience with trying to help someone who's stubborn? Or just curious. But good to see you, Gavin. Mystical stab artist. Yo, what's up? I've never seen you. How are you? How are things going for you? Do you have any question for me? Please hit me up in the chat. If anyone want to support me at the stream with a super chat, I'd appreciate that. But I have a couple more still here. So someone asked about the best chest exercises. Well, I did put out a big like training Bible, but the Uncommon Sense Bodybuilding full guide. I was kind of happy with it. I'll probably remake it in the future, but I'm happy with it as the first kind of try. So I mentioned some things for chest there, but I didn't. I talked. So I tried to be the overview of everything I think of training, but still cover as many details as possible. But of course, can't go through every single exercise in a video like that. But for the chest, look, I prefer the incline bench over the flat bench, even though both they are compounds. You can build a chest with them. I just feel like you get more what you're really aiming for with the incline bench, that upper chest, the front delt. And when we're talking aesthetics, my specific aesthetics, but aesthetics in general, I think most men, if you look at them, they will have some shape to the chest here, but it will be lacking here. And if you want this really yoked look that you will see when I go and do my videos, I look kind of big here. It's the upper chest, the delts, and the traps, really. So the flat bench is good too, but I like the incline bench. We're talking more mid builders. I would prefer either dumbbells or rings. I love rings because with these, so the function of the chest is just at different angles depending on where on the chest, but it's really to move the upper arm in towards the center. And that happens when you're using a barbell too. You see how it moves from there, but it's just more. You can go as deep as you could, and you can't push the arms together as much as you could with a barbell. So with dumbbells, you can do it. You can get a deep stretch and then move more naturally them together like that instead of just being out here. Same with rings. And with rings, you can even make it more of a fly motion. Like if you really not just lean into the rings like a push like that, but really open up like that, you get a nice stretch on the chest. Dips are good too, of course. I prefer, rather than the regular dips when you're very upright, I prefer the variations that make you lean forward more. So there are two. Either if you lift your knees, I call them tucked dips, that's going to make you lean more forward. It isolates the chest more. I have two. I probably rolled a clip of that in some video, but I put the weight belt, instead of putting it on your waist, you put it on your neck. I just tried it for fun at first, but it actually makes you lean more forward, which just gives you better angle for that chest. So dips are great. And these that I mentioned, just the different bench presses, dumbbell presses, and ring push-ups and dips, those would be the main things. And then, of course, we can have more isolated, like some kind of fly movement. I just don't think they are as important. Like that would be for someone that really struggles with the chest, like it's a weak body part. You might need to isolate it more. I mean, I like the cables for the more constant, resistance, and you get a good squeeze at the end. But what's so nice with dumbbells when you're doing flies is that it's such a huge stretch. But the thing is though that the motion is kind of done here. So that's the thing. The cables gives like a more full range of motion, a better top squeeze. But I like the stretch from the dumbbells. For a real like hard gainer in the chest, where like the shoulders take over a lot or something, these fly variations might be a good idea. Or some last thing I was thinking about. No, that's really it. Okay, guys, haven't talked all that much more in the chat. I see you like, that's good. But say hi and ask a question if you're still around. Martin says, I am stubborn, I think. Haha. Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's funny because something I've noticed about the best coaches is that we, because I think I'm a good coach, are also the best students. Um, it's really so funny when someone wants to hire a coach or a trainer and then think they know best and don't listen to them. Well, what's the point then? You just want a yes man. You just want someone to be like validate your dumb ideas. Like, yeah, you go. Yeah, you know best, clearly. No, but because I work with coaches, and of course, sometimes you have a little question. And I know too that so much with knowledge, it's not like I tell you and now you just know. No, it's through experience. It's when you get ideas. You can be like, yeah, I think this might work. But it's when you actually do the thing that you learn. So when I worked with a coach, like my mobility coach, for instance, I didn't understand exactly everything we were doing. And I have like one little question at the start of a program or something. But mainly, I'm just like, I just follow the instruction. I just do the shit. And many of my questions I won't even have to get answers to because I can tell. And so instead of spending so much on that, I think I know best. No, I wouldn't pick this and blah, blah, blah. And like, I do it the coach's way first, at least. And then if I notice that, hey, I think the purpose with this exercise might be this, but I've been feeling this. What do you think? Then the coach might be like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Then we try something else. But so many times the coach just knows best. So just trust that. And yeah, when you are a good coach and you know how much you can do for people. If you knew that the person will just do what I tell them, you just know that this is going to be easy. I just have to tell them these things. I know how to do this. So many times it's make the person able to do the thing as well. But yeah, the point is that then when the coach puts himself in the student seat, you just know that this will go the best if I just listen and do as I'm told, and then maybe later on I have some questions. Yeah, okay, I have some new people. Say hi, like, ask me something in the chat. I have one last question here, typical one. How to stay full on a deficit? I made this video before too, so you can go and see that. But one thing is that you just don't, like you have to. A lot of people approach it kind of like if I just find a diet, like now I mean diet as a like weight loss regimen routine. The other thing with me is I don't manage to lose weight because I haven't found a routine where I stay full, where I feel good. But that's not the point. It's that's why a lot of people don't lose weight. That's why a lot of people are overweight because it's difficult. If you could just if all you had to do was eat less and you had no problems with it, then no one would be fat or no one would be struggling when they try to lose weight. So one part is just embracing that I'm not gonna always feel full. I might go to bed and feel a little bit hungry. Um, and to be honest, it's so many things I learned through this kind of ascetic lifestyle of reducing instant gratification, lots of delayed gratification, and that. Like this thing with being hungry and full. It's kind of like with a sex drive. Like yeah, it's supposed to be a thing, but you're not supposed to be so freaking obsessed with sex. You're brainwashed by watching porn and just the over-sexualized society and popular culture. You're brainwashed to be thinking more about this and thinking more that you need it more than you actually do, even though it actually is a thing. It's the same thing with being hungry and full. Like, yeah, you can feel like, oh, I'm a little hungry. I'm not quite full, but it's not supposed to be that big of a deal. Like when I was cutting on a daily deficit this year, many times I'm like, yeah, it would be really nice to eat more. I'm not full, but it's not that big of a deal. That's kind of how it's supposed to be before you like gotten so used to being able to eat throughout the entire day and these hyper processed junk foods that just disrupt your natural hunger signals and all this shit. They don't keep you satiated and that. So that's the first thing, that you're not being full shouldn't be so important. It's kind of a drug. You're like numbed out when you're full. You shouldn't have to need that. Shouldn't be that big of a deal to be a little hungry. But then, of course, we can have some strategy. So, first of all, the easiest for most people is to skip breakfast. Um, intermittent fasting, reducing the amount of time of the day that you eat, that will naturally, regulate calorie intake. And the easiest way for most people is to start eating later in the day there. I know a few people, there's like, if only I get breakfast, I'm pretty much good. So I've had like a couple of clients that, had it on two meals, like breakfast and lunch. Usually it would be lunch and dinner. But, so figure out when you struggle most with hunger and structure your eating accordingly. Don't eat when it's the most easy for you to skip it. And then eat as much real food as possible. There's actually more, it will feed you more micronutrients and that, because sometimes when you're hungry, it's just that you've eaten calories, but you don't really get much nutrients. So the only way the body knows how to ask for that is, I'm hungry, I want more. So if you eat healthy whole foods, you eat your meats, some vegetables, potatoes, this kind of food, it will keep you more satiated, nourish you more like that. High protein, most satiating macronutrient, also the macronutrient that it takes the most energy to digest. So, like in reality, calories from protein are a little less like that. And this would be the thing, really. I mean, you can do the thing that I'm not a huge fan of, but you can eat a whole bunch of vegetables with your meals that, don't contain much calories, but it's just food volume. So you kind of trick yourself into being a bit more full like that. It's like that's for someone that's really struggling. I prefer to finding, discipline, addressing it with good structure, with like your intermittent fasting routine, eating real food, so it actually satiates you quite a bit. You have some vegetables, of course, but then just some discipline and learning to, like, I have to be a bit uncomfortable. I have to be a little bit hungry. I would prefer that, but someone that's really struggling, yeah, if you push some extra broccoli or something and it makes you more satiated, you could go through it. Why not? But that's all for my questions I had before the stream. I see some more people. I've seen some likes drop in. I appreciate that. But talk to me in the chat now, guys. This is a us thing. I'm like the main character. I'm the one talking. But you prompt me to say things by interacting in the chat. You can tell me something. You can ask me something. Just a little shit you say sometimes. Just yeah, like when someone says just the tiniest thing can trigger me to go on like a 10-minute rant. I did prepare something that I prefer not to do, just because someone asked about it on a live recently, and yeah, I also get comments on it. It's like a video where it's a video where I'm crying because I can't believe my depression is gone. When I'm like 48, that's the title of it. I'm like 48 hours into a dry fast. And yeah, it's kind of a special video. And I figure I could react to that. It's kind of cringy for me to see myself crying, being in that kind of very vulnerable state. But that could be a little interesting thing to do here if we don't talk much. But I see here, Svaka Barakat. Yo, hi. Is that you? We've been chatting with me a little bit on Instagram, I think. Um, let's see. Yeah, I think that's you. Good to see you, man. You have any question for me? Anything you want to know? Tell me something. I mean, you ask me little things on Instagram, but yeah, just for the stream here. Gavin asks, what makes / keeps you happy these days? What do you do when you're not feeling 100%? Yeah, well, I've had a tough year. Gavin knows some about it because we talked. He's like a former client, if you dropped in later here. Well, what makes keeps you happy? Like I'm finding myself in more of a better place. Like being real, being authentic, taking action on the things that bother you. Some things are out of your control, sometimes. And you just have to sit with it. But being true to myself, being authentic, taking every action I can towards the things I would like, in life. If I have some issue with someone, some argument, and that might not be able to be solved, but to at least say my piece, do my best. Because I notice that even sometimes we'd like to, for instance, work out some problem with someone. Maybe we can't always, but if we got to be true to ourselves, stand up for ourselves, or do what we think we could do to make the situation right. I noticed that even if we don't get that like result that we would like, oh, everything is just good now, it makes you feel better a lot. But of course, my training, as always, like at a time like this, it's definitely like if I wake up, I don't always feel super motivated and happy in the morning. I'm really at a time where I know that if I just get my ass to the gym, I don't feel much like it before, but I'm not in like a shutdown state. So I can train well, and when I come and I hit my workout, that lifts my spirits a lot. I'm uh, I'm seeing friends and family a lot, which is funny because if you watch my content here and on Instagram, I mostly don't post other people. Um, like sometimes if I train with someone, maybe and that. But so many times I'm kind of like I don't want to bother my friends and stuff with like, oh, you have to do this influencer shit now. Yeah, yeah. Can I film you when you turn on the sauna? So especially lately, I've just been spending a lot of time with people and kind of putting the phone away and shit. And yeah, my cousin. So I have a very small family. My cousin, that's kind of like my sister, they have kids now. Like they have one boy, he's like 2.5 years old, and they have twins that they must be just over half a year now, like 7 months or so. And so I've been spending a lot of time with them, helping them with the kids and just hanging out. And I love that, of course, because it's a big dream for me to one day be a father myself, have a family. And I have such a little family, like even, extent, we say släkt. It's like family is more like, your brother and your parents, and then släkt is like your entire big family. But even my big family is so small, so that my cousin that I'm close to, that they have kids and stuff. We say that I'm the uncle, even though I'm technically, mother cousin, but we call me uncle, and so that gives you a lot of joy. So training, spending time with friends and family, and yeah, I've been really enjoying YouTube lately now. I feel like I've cracked some codes to some of my recent videos have just got a lot more views. I've hit some, this is a controversy. It hits home. Some people always get upset, even if it's just the title that's triggering. And I think, at least, that the message is quite nuanced and definitely not coming from like an angry or hateful place. But yeah, so I'm enjoying YouTube a lot lately. I would love it to get more input from you guys that follow on stuff you want to see, because sometimes you just don't think of it. And when someone says something, sometimes it's like, yeah, that's just on YouTube shit lately. So those are some things I'm doing to be happy lately, Gavin. Um, yeah, Smacka, what's up? So good. A few people dropped in here. Like the stream if you haven't. Keep questions coming. That's great. John Rossi found your channel. Good to see you, man. Welcome. Found your channel last week. I really love the content and have so much respect for you after hearing you tell your story of how you used to be. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I think that's a special thing with me and this channel, that I have done very good training results that would be very, very good no matter who did them. But it's where I came from, who I was, and it's not just train and put on muscle I've done. Of course, I've changed my poor habits and morals, for that matter, into something completely different, and I am very proud of it. So I'm happy that you see that and respect it, as you said. Much appreciated, John. Welcome to the channel. Have any question or anything, hit me up in the chat. Michael V. I found recent success with prolonged fasting once a week. On fast days, I do a HIIT session, so high intensity cardio, I guess. And I will do a lightweight circuit session. This puts me in fat burning and is really working. Well, yeah, if you're happy with it, I think a lot of the time we don't have to train so very hard on fasts. Actually, Gavin here used to do like the hit stuff with his fast, and for him sometimes it just became a little bit too much, like that his body needed recovery, and the fast just didn't give him enough for that. So it depends on the intensity, of course, but if it feels good for you and it's working, like, it's just something to keep in mind. If you would find yourself at some point like, I'm so overly taxed, then maybe we can still move, you can still exercise, but it's like the question of the intensity. A lightweight circuit session sounds perfect, like, because when we're doing the weights on the fast, we don't want to break down muscle again, because that's what we do when we train hard. We break down the muscle to build it back stronger with good nutrition and sleep. And so when we're fasting, yeah, we might sleep, but we don't eat. So breaking down the muscle would be counterproductive, but just using the muscles might be a way to stay even more muscle sparing. Again, I want to say every time, I've never experienced any muscle loss on a fast, even when I'm not training anything, but it could be a signal to the body. But what we would like to do then is just do something like one tough working set per exercise, low volume, or use lightweight and do a little circuit like that. That's great. So good, Michael. And a weekly fast is, of course, fasting. And you think a longer water fast could have the same effects? I went up to 4 weeks on water, but never dry. So I'm honestly not an expert on this. I know someone who's crazy with a dry fast that I've actually asked to maybe interview sometime about it. Not sure that will happen. We will see. No, the thing for me with the dry fasts is that I did it to begin with was purely a thing that, okay, fasting is something I'm going to be into and talk a lot about. I must have at least tried it. And then I've done it a few times since then, but many times too, like just as a kind of challenge. I have to push myself hard. I do this kind of dopamine fast where I remove my stimulants, nicotine, snooze, caffeine from coffee, and then water and food as well. Um, but what it seems like is it's of course it's even more anti-inflammatory because part of inflammation is like that water is like collected, how we say, in the inflamed area. So just drying yourself out. That's a funny thing that once when I had like hurt my shins here, just above the foot, I just had some pain there. I didn't quite know why, just stuck around. Then I did one of these dopamine dry fasts. This is years ago now. After the fast, that inflammation and pain was just gone. Um, no, I think the autophagy effect is stronger as well. Um, and yeah, you know, really, I think there's probably some unique benefits to dry fasting, but again, I've not tried to specialize. I'm like never advise someone to dry fast really. So I'm not the expert on that, but mainly I just think it just ramps up the intensity of basically everything that you would be doing with a water fast. So I think maybe sometimes you could get more done in less time with a dry fast compared to a water fast. Now, I'm sure there are some unique things as well. I would say this too, the dry fasts are like more taxing and more dangerous. Of course, like be careful you're not even drinking water. Prepare the kidneys with some sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, so they don't get as acidic. But I noticed, like for instance, like a water fast, if I break it and I train the next day, it's like no difference. But a dry fast, I can kind of tell that my body is still a bit taxed from this. So yeah, in conclusion, I think it's pretty much the same effects, just stronger. You reach them faster, and maybe there's something unique to it. I'm sure skin. I'm sure. I just remember after the first dry fast, I've never felt that smooth ever, and little like weird, not rashes, but these like mini. This like you have a little rough area somewhere, and you just have stuff like that just gone. Yeah. But yeah, I think I've said everything I can say about that. Smaka Barakat. I feel like I lost out on some momentum. I've been feeling less and less confident around people. I have a less grounded presence. I don't know if you're familiar with how I'm feeling right now. Tips? Any tips? Um, I mean, lost out on some momentum. I mean, do you know why? Like, did it just randomly happen? Do you connect this to something specific? Because, like say a thing Like with myself, this is a random example. I would say generally, I feel quite confident with girls. Like I know because I have a unusual lifestyle here in Stockholm, and that many girls would just think I'm kind of weird and that. But that doesn't make me feel like unattractive or undesirable. I feel quite confident in speaking to girls in general. So maybe even like flirt or something, trying to be a little bit charming or something. But let's say I, for some reason, don't feel all that great I just don't experience all that much progress in my life in general. Like I feel a bit stuck just in my life. That would affect, I would feel a little bit just less confident in that area as well. So do you see what I mean? That often if you just have this general, oh, I don't feel as confident around people and stuff, like maybe it's because you just don't feel overall as confident. You're not experiencing like, yeah, I'm doing great, I'm evolving in this area, yeah, I'm someone who's moving forward in life, you know. So you see what I mean? um, Moving out, maybe you said, yeah, you're quite young, you're staying with your parents. Yeah, I would advise, I should have moved out sooner, definitely. um, like the sooner you move out, the better. Like it's great if you can have. When we talk about family, like in like healing communities and stuff, it's so much like cut everyone, like just cut people off, the people that don't serve you, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, it's like even your family, if they would have too negative of an effect on you, you have no obligation to be around them just because you're family. But that being said, it's great if that isn't the case, and you can actually have, you know, good relationship with your family and that. But even when you have a good relationship with your family, staying with them for, you grow up. You need to grow up. So the sooner you can get out and just have to face challenges on your own, take care of yourself like that, the better. Yeah. Yeah, I just moved out like 1 month ago to a new country. Yeah. Okay. You moved out, but you asked about moving out, but you just moved out. Yeah, that's good then. Mm. And he says, I have a good relationship with my family, but they are kind of toxic. LMAO. In what way are they toxic? This is interesting. This is the thing. When people ask questions, like the more detail you can be about your situation, like even if you have to protect some detail for privacy or something, but the more specific you can be when you ask something, the better answer you will get. Like I have one client that sometimes he asks about like relationship stuff, like situations in life, but he asks about them in an extremely general way, and it's kind of like, you know, when someone does something that could be wrong depending on the context, but you could also, depending on the context, you could understand why someone did this thing in this circumstance and that. So it's always like, kind of, if you want true input on something, don't ask in these generalities, like be as specific as you can. um, yeah, the more information the better. And Gavin and Ezekiel just said thanks, pretty much. You're welcome. Ezekiel Goldberg the second. Love these accounts that show up sometimes. Like, I mean, seems like nothing wrong with you. It's a funny name. I remember this one guy that used to show up. Everything he said, he very fast came in on the subject of our friends with the small hats. You know. Okay. Please like if you haven't. Have anything more coming for me in the chat. Always try to push these to an hour. Let's see. Someone talks to me, said something else. Instagram. Ezekiel Goldberg. And he knows. Or what is it? Shut it down. They know. I used to be very into all those things. And yeah, I mean, I am to some extent still. I have more nuance with stuff. Um, yeah. The dangerous thing, I think, is even when no more questions on Instagram. You know, I think the dangerous thing is like we have a certain establishment or certain ideas that are like dominant within the mainstream. So it's easy to think sometimes that the opposite side must be right. But many times it's just more of a mirror image of the establishment. It's like toxic in its own way. And yeah, reality, it's just something I learned. Um, since before starting this channel, I used to have a way more black and white view of the world, but the world really is not black and white. It's always some kind of shade of gray. And I love it, you know. It's so funny to have like a political position. I don't even view myself as a political person, but you have a position that can like infuriate both the left and the right because you're not basing it off of ideology. You're basing it off of what you think is right. So you're gonna agree with some things here and some things here, and you're gonna disagree with some things here and some things there. So funny when someone really thinks, yeah, this guy is on my side because you're saying all these things they agree with, and then suddenly you drop something that to them is like, ah, ah. Yeah, some people dropping in. Please like ask some questions so we have something to talk about these last like 15 minutes of the stream. Svaka Barakat again. My sister who got married recently said she catches herself screaming for no reason. I wonder why. That's just how we've been raised. You never hear something positive or encouraging, just putting you down. Hmm, interesting. She catches herself screaming for no reason. Has she like been told, just keep it in, just bottle it up. No, just be a good little girl, smile. It's like, but just from the limited information, I'm just like, why scream and not know why? I just see like all this pent up stuff you're holding in, so you finally just like, ah. But yeah, been raised, you never hear something positive or encouraging, just putting you down. Very, very. Okay, he says now at her husband over small things. Well, that can of course be so, with a woman, especially, could be so many things. She's just stressed, has a short fuse, you know. I don't know. No, but this with being raised and not hearing something positive or encouraging, just putting you down, it's a common one. It's happened to me a lot. Like as a kid, it's like, you know, I was smart, I was gifted, like school was very easy for me as a kid, you know, the math and the grammar, it just came naturally to me. But for my parents, it's kind of like, you know, they just assume then, yeah, this is your standard. You don't have to be told like, yeah, you're doing great, you're actually much better than the most kids. It's just like, no, we're expecting this from him now. And then you just get to hear when you do something wrong. And I was also brought up with an autistic brother who I love, and we're great today. But he took so much attention. Got way too little attention as a kid. And then, of course, if I do something that's like trouble, then you get like, what have you done now? You know, then you feel like none of the shit I do that's good gets any acknowledgement. I just get shit when I do something bad. I guess I'll just be bad, you know, because that's what I get either way. The famous gifted kid curse. Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's what I felt so much before this panic attack thing I went through before starting Uncommon Sense. I remember sitting and being like, I have so much potential. Yeah, but what do I do with all this shit? I like trapped, you know. Uh, so I have a gift. There's just no way of using it. Ezekiel Goldberg. People want you to put into either an in or an out group. They can't deal with anything in between. Yeah, exactly. People are so black and white. It's so funny, you know, that it's like one lady in this house that I'm connected quite a bit with because she has some kind of, it's not MS, it's a more unusual disease. It's called like ME. And you can tell that she has struggled a lot in her life. And so as many people that has, she has a lot of insight, you know. And so when she and I talk about life and people and that, I feel like we agree, you know, we are on the same page with things. Then I can just tell when she uses some language, that, okay, she's kind of upset with like the racists and the anti-feminists and this. And the thing is, because what I've gone through and the way I see things, I'm like, okay, that's her outlet. That's where she directs her rage, you know, against the world. Because it's the same thing. A lot of people, right or left, if they're angry, if they have a lot of emotion in what they're saying, it's really, you know, it's a projection of something inside of them. So I know many times if someone is like, very far right, hating, immigrants and women or whatever, someone else on the left that's so angry at the racists and at men and this shit, you know. It's coming from the same place. They've just found a different outlet. And so with this lady, when I drop something that just kind of um, it puts to light that I don't identify as feminist, basically. I say something like, you know, these feminist ideas, blah, 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 something. And also, I can see, like, from that NPC meme, you know, when the NPC goes like, I can see, like, NPC triggered. Person in front of me, anti-feminist equals one, enemy, you know. And now she's gonna like fight with me this, and it's so funny too because she's gonna explain to like, look, I'm not the kind of feminist that hates men and blah blah. And I'm like standing like, I know, I've talked to you, the human being, Lisa here for so much. I know you don't hate men. It's just I'm not gonna identify with you. We have the same view. It's just that you call it feminism and I don't. And when I don't, you think I'm in opposition to you, but I'm not really, you know. It's so funny. People are like that. You really see it. They can agree. They can feel like you're best friends until this one thing was revealed about you, surface level, and now you're like, enemy spotted. Svacka barakat. You rely on your gift until people who aren't gifted catch up to you by hard work, and your ego is destroyed. Yeah, you know, okay, so you mean that kind of cursed child gift. Yeah, you know, talent can be like a blessing and a curse, definitely. You know, the people that get the best on in an area would of course be the talented person that also works hard as hell. But of course, if you have a lot of talent, sometimes, you know, you think you don't have to work as hard. And the person that hasn't got quite as much talent, that's what actually sparked the fire under their ass to work hard. So maybe they beat the talented person. But I didn't really mean it like that for me. With certain things, maybe it's like, it's been so easy that you kind of take some things for granted, that you don't develop work ethic in that area. But I meant it more like things were easy for me, and instead of being kind of like rewarded, told you're good, it's kind of like, no, this is what we expect from you now, and if you do less, you're bad, kind of thing. Um, yeah. Catch up to you by hard work, and your ego is destroyed. The ego must be destroyed. The ego must die. I'm gonna make a video about that soon. I think it's so interesting to talk about the ego, personas, and that. Because it's really something I knew nothing about just 5 years ago. And now it's a concept I think about all the time. All the time. It's extremely interesting when you ego death. That's right. I was thinking about it today, actually, that I'm not sure that the ego ever dies. Because, you know, if it dies, you develop a new one. But it's more like ego transformation. You know, sometimes you go through something like that changes you so much, like either a negative experience or a positive one. You just had such a big breakthrough that a lot of parts of you just immediately like change like that after psychedelic usage or whatnot. Swakya Barakat says, yeah, look, that's a tool that I might have dabbled in. I might have. But the thing for me is that's the craziest thing for me. I've experienced these kind of psychedelic like states without anything on the outside. I've experienced ego that's like this video that I'm now not gonna watch here, but I mentioned it when I am like 48 hours into a dry fast, and that dry fast gave me an ego death. Sometimes just a few weeks of things going really, really well with everything in my life has also led to some kind of ego death. And I enter this state where, you know, of course I am still Theo, but I'm very much just looking at Theo operating in the world. Oh, Theo is a little stressed now. Oh, Theo, I can tell that Theo is a little worried about this thing coming up. You know, like you don't identify with this persona within you. You're just a passenger, just looking, not even just at your body moving. You're actually looking at your thoughts about, oh, that's some crazy stuff Theo is thinking about right now. You know, and that's something I want people to understand. The psychedelics, kind of thing. They only, everything you can do with drugs, that's something that's within you. The drug couldn't trigger it if it wasn't within you to begin with. So the very cool thing is that you can have psychedelic experiences, you can have experiences of ego death without any external substance like that. And I've had that happen many times. Yeah, if you go looking on ego, I know there's an old video where I've just, it's so funny that I didn't get it then, because it was kind of new, all this ego stuff to me. It was after the dry fast, and I did some video about the ego, and I'm kind of like talking as I'm so fucking smart about the ego, and I was died. Yeah, I have less ego right then, but I also have a big, like, spiritual ego, thinking I know so fucking much. Yeah, I have access to all these things because my ego actually died, not like you watching the video. You have an ego, I don't. Uh, that's the best thing, the spiritual ego. When the ego died and was replaced by an ego that thinks it's very small and just knows all these things, just have all these insights. Um, and Smakia says that's so interesting. Yeah. Ezekiel Goldbergen, have you looked into fermented foods? Recently got a new GF with chronic depression. I'm big into kefir, fermented milk, and recently read about gut-brain connection. She feels a lot better now. Okay, so you got a girlfriend who's chronically depressed, and you got kefir, and it helped her. I mean, um, I looked into fermented foods. Like, yeah, fermented foods are good. I try to eat some. Like, I eat kefir, by the way. I will after this, actually. But yeah, sauerkraut, pickles, stuff like that. It's good for the gut. And yeah, there is a gut-brain axis. What I will say is that, you see some people that seem to have like depression or anxiety almost purely from like nutrient deficiencies and like that. So when they went on a good diet, and in this case, fermented foods, uh, things just got better. What I will say is though, if you're like actually depressed about something about your life situation, you can't just eat your way from it, but you can always give yourself the best opportunity to feel better. But so the gut-brain axis, it's not only that the gut affects the brain, that, poor gut health could make you depressed or anxious. It's the other way around too. Like your mental health could affect the way your gut works. So it goes both ways, if you see what I'm saying. So of course, it's always a good idea to eat well. Um, that will set you up. But I definitely, that's so interesting. It's a good point to make. I've, like with my gut health, eating the exact same diet, I both experienced that I have just perfect digestion. Like an hour after going up, I have the cleanest shit ever, and then I'm done with that for the day. And I had something in between, that it's not that pure like that, but I have no gut problems, but it's just maybe I have to go twice on a day or something. And I've experienced my gut being just completely destroyed, eating the exact same things. And then you just see how much the brain affects the gut like that. When the things you've digested well and everything working well, you eat the exact same things and your gut is just destroyed. Um, but yeah, fermented foods, very good. Smacka barakat. I don't know if this is allowed here, nor if you feel comfortable talking about it, but how do you feel about semen retention? Well, I just did a video about, I think I called it no fap versus low fap, and no more prawn, you know. So I've talked about it quite a bit. And like, I'll answer this before I end the stream, but go watch the video for a fuller response. But to me, it's again one of these things. I say that if you're addicted to porn and you do this stuff too much, maybe there's an idea of going off it completely, no fap for months. But on the other hand, I don't think it's that natural for us males that it's so accessible, and it's actually something that builds up inside you. I don't think it's natural to just go without forever, but I don't think you should be doing it on too high of a frequency. So in the video, I talked about how I've been practicing low fap, that I call it. Instead of pure no fap, it's like you just do it on a low frequency, like once per week. I almost said once per day. um, and you don't watch porn, obviously. Because I tried complete nofap for like 2.5 months, something like that, this summer, and I just didn't notice any difference from it. And that's because I've been on years on this low fap routine. So I think it's a good idea. I think it's something to it. It's like the life force. Because if you do this too much, the hormone that gets released afterwards is called prolactin. It's the same one that you get way too high of if you smoke weed chronically. And it's a hormone that just makes you kind of, lazy. You're fine with just lying around like that. So I think overdoing this, and especially with porn is of course horrible, makes this habit so much worse for so many reasons. So yeah, if you're doing that, maybe go off it completely. But then when you reach like a good base, you're not addicted to porn, you're not overdoing this, just doing it like once per week just to get that little release. Because it's not black and white again. It's not that you do it once and you're back to scratch. That's not how it works. After all, I wish I can get more people to watch regularly. It will happen eventually. Thanks, guys. Please like if you haven't. You can comment on the stream too. And I'll see you next week at the same time for another stream. And I'll see you in the week on the typical videos. Okay, guys. Thanks for this time. Peace.